Well, it's me again, and it's still September 12th, and it's 9:33 p.m. right now. And I thought I'd tape another one of these things, these little thoughts videos, uh, while I'm waiting for another video to upload, and got a few other things to do. And I've had maybe a glass of wine, which I talked about in a previous video. But I just want to say a few thoughts about my current living situation, because it is one that many writers would envy. I live in a nice house, modern house, out in the kind of remote woods of Arkansas, near your little town of Gillett. My nearest neighbor, I'm not going to go into great specifics about exactly where I live for privacy reasons and other things, but it is rather remote. It is hard for me to get internet here, as during the summer particularly, when there's a lot of leaves on the trees and it blocks the signals from new towers. Very hard to get cell phone reception here. I am about a mile from the nearest neighbor, and there is the nearest town, like I say, is Gillett, 700 people, 8 miles away. On that is the town of Dumas, 5,000 people, 17 miles away, and the town of DeWitt, about 4,000 people, 20 miles away, in the opposite direction from Dumas. DeWitt's to the east, Dumas is to the west. A lot of farm country. It's all farm country around here. Popular sport here is duck hunting and goose hunting. Fishing, of course. Bow fishing. So where I live, there's a big bend, an oxbow lake. It was formerly a bend of the Arkansas River, and it's called the Post Bend. A lot of people go bow fishing on it. On the opposite side of the little peninsula where I live is more bayou. A lot of people go fishing in that. The wildlife right around here, we have lots of alligators. You don't see them that often, but they are here. And as I understand it, we have more species of not rattlesnakes, more species of snakes than any place else in the U.S., just because so many different ranges happen to overlap here. So we've got quite a few snakes. Some venomous, most not. And you see them around quite a bit. During the summer, quite a few bugs. When it gets hotter, the bugs are worse, particularly horse flies and deer flies. It's hard to go outside. You have to, without any kind of bug protection. They can be annoying, at least. My family, my wife, son, my wife lives in Texas right now, about 600 miles from here. But that's not by choice. She started a career there as a teacher. She's finishing it. She's got about 7 more years to retire. I've got about another year before I retire for my day job, which I'm not going to mention right now. And I'll probably move to Texas. And we're thinking about moving to Lubbock at that point. But right now, it's just me and the dog, Sarah, in this house out here in the middle of nowhere. And the isolation can get to you at times. It can be very empty out here. Don't have any friends. Don't really have any friends in the area. Co-workers. That's it. Few acquaintances. The nights out here can be spectacular, with as many stars as there are, very few city lights, or very little light pollution, I should say. The temperatures can be rather mild in the winter, can be very extreme too. storms out here can be impressive, and in these deep woods with trees 50 feet or more higher, a strong wind or storm comes through and starts whipping them about like you see a storm whipping about wheat. It can be very impressive. We had an ice storm here past winter. A lot of trees came down because there's so much water in this area. The tree roots, they don't go out very far. They form once in a while a tree fall or a root fall, and because of that, they're not as sturdy, not as fixed into the ground as most other trees are. So a high wind will blow them over when it wouldn't bother other trees. And when we had an ice storm this past winter, trees came down literally by the dozens around here. I had four knocked out, just four fell near my house and just brushed the house with the tips of their top branches. Thank God no serious damage was done. Dozens of trees blocked the roads. It took some time to get them cleared out. And it was, I've got some photos, some pretty neat photos from those days. But the isolation, I think, is what a lot of writers would kill for, really. I've taken advantage of, I've written quite a bit on here. Been working on the magazine a lot lately, and that's what takes up a lot of my time. But when I was writing, and I intend to get back to it, trying to get back to it gradually, divide my time between writing and the magazine and the day job. But the isolation it can be nerve-wracking at times, but it can also be beautiful. If I want to go out here into the yard and drink wine, watch stars, I can do that anytime I want. On occasion, I'll admit I have had too much, and that's been interesting nights, being out here in the middle of nowhere, drunk on my ass. And just, so to speak, howling at the moon, and it helps get a lot of stuff out of your system. And yeah, isolation is good, probably for that reason, because you can come out here, do whatever you want, in complete freedom. No one around to see you, nobody around to question you. You can do whatever you want, and you get all this crap that's built up in your system throughout your life. You can get rid of that, get it out, do basically the primal scream kind of thing. You don't actually have to go out in the woods and scream, but you get it out of your system anyway. And honestly, I've tried that. I've gone out here in the middle of nowhere and just screamed out into the night. And it is kind of liberating for a while, relaxing. It gets a lot of stuff out of your system. And I've been out here now 2023, September 2023. I've been here since August 2019. And I've learned to adapt to the quiet, and the solitude, and the isolation. I mean, I do go into town. I go into bigger towns on occasion. Pine Bluff, about 50,000 people, about an hour north. Little Rock, 100,000 people, 2 hours north. But I don't go that often, and it is, after spending all this time alone, it is a new experience for me almost every time I go to a bigger town. It takes a little bit to get used to. I have to adapt to it again. But as far as the writing goes, it is great. I can focus on it. Once I have enough discipline that I can tear myself away from movies or YouTube or whatever the case can be. I have a little office I've set up in my house. So, and I put a few pictures of it up on the website in different places. But it is great. I can write any time of the day or night that I want. I don't have my wife around to interrupt my writing, say, honey, can you go get some eggs? You know, or honey, we need to go to such and such, or honey, we're going to the such and such tonight. Now you just write. I really wanted to, and I really would like to get into this. I would like to just be able just to start writing and just do nothing but write. Sometimes I find it's hard because you get something writer's block. I don't think it's like you see in the movies, at least not for me. I just don't get a good idea, but a lot of times if I just sit down in front of the keyboard and just stare at it, stare at the text, you know, and I could probably come up with something. It is like someone said, writing is simple. You just sit and stare at a blank sheet of paper until the drops of blood start to form on your forehead. It is, but you know, once you do get into it, once I get into it, like meditation used to be. I used to do some meditation years ago. And you can lose track of time in that. And what seems like 10 minutes, you'll find out was actually 3 hours. And writing for me can be much the same way. I can get into it. Once I'm really into it, I get lost in it. I don't want to turn myself away. And I may even be up long hours with it. I'm one of those people also that I mean, have some kind of mind block. Can't go any farther. No writing. Or watch a movie or some other movie, maybe, so I can get that. Trying to get back into it. Now I won't. So I'll go to bed. Get everything ready. Go to bed. Lay down there. Sit in my head, hit the pillow. I'll come up with an idea, and I go back to the laptop, start writing again. Or I used to keep a notebook outside the bed. If I came up with an idea, I'd just jump up in the middle of the night and write it down. It was, I don't know, creativity it just strikes you when it wants to. So, but this is a good spot for it. This is a good spot, and I feel I've been fortunate, I've been blessed that I can live here during this time when I'm able to make transition between my career, my established career during the daytime, and between here and my time of retirement, so I can really dedicate myself sometimes to writing, to a magazine, and can really get into those and adapt to those and establish myself in those before I retire and do them, hopefully full time. So it gives me a lot of time to think about it and to look into what it takes to be a writer in the 21st century, which is a lot different than it used to be, say, back in Hemingway's day. A lot different. I think everybody wants to be a writer like Hemingway was back in that generation when the publishing companies sent you on book tours and whatever, set things up for you, and had editors and everything. You didn't have to do all the publicity for yourself, a lot of the publicity for yourself and so forth. But anyway, I don't know if it was ever great during those days or not. But it doesn't really matter. You know, what we have now is what we have to deal with. But back to the isolation. And it is good. It teaches you a lot about yourself. It teaches you about how much self-discipline you have. As you can come out here where it's isolated, you can do whatever you want. You can say to yourself, I'm going to write this novel. Do you have the discipline to sit down and write that novel? Or do you fall to temptation because it is so isolated out here and you need being human, you need the company of other humans, and if you can't have it, then you find other ways to get it, or substitute for it. Maybe watching movies, watching YouTube, maybe you just want to keep going to the store, local Dollar General, every chance you can, just to be able to see another human being. One thing I'm grateful for is there are very few bars around here. Back in Corpus Christi and in New Mexico, Farmington, Aston, there were bars around. And that was a temptation to fall to because I'm primarily a social drinker. And it would be, I would go out to find company, have someone at a bar to talk to, or at least be able to talk to a bartender, see another human being somehow. Here I don't have that. It forces me, really, the situation, being here in the Bible Belt, really forces me to focus on my writing and on the magazine. And so, in many ways, it's an idyllic situation for a writer or a would-be publisher. And because I can focus all my off time on those. But at the same time, it teaches me about myself, teaches me how much self-discipline do I have, what temptations do I fall to. You know, I need, like everybody else, I need other humans around. And so can I enforce that isolation upon myself? Can I forgo being with other people in order to get done what I've done? At one time in my life, I didn't really want to be around people. I was not antisocial, but I just preferred solitude. Now, my later years, I'm like, and after having had an active social life for over 30 years, it's hard to get away from people. And so, it's easy to get lost in TV or YouTube or something. And then you also have the practical aspect of it. If I'm going to be a publisher or a writer, I need to make contacts, I need to get to know other people, I get to know people in the local community, I have to publicize my work. I have to publicize the magazine, I have to find other writers. I'm learning the advertising thing for the magazine and for my own writing, and I'm coming to realize I need to go to things. I missed out on a big opportunity. Comic-Con was in Little Rock this past weekend. I intended to go to it, forgot completely about it, got wrapped up in other things, didn't go to it. Now I wish I had, because it would have been a great opportunity for me to promote the magazine. But now I have to look for other opportunities like that. Now that I know that I screwed up there, I can look for other opportunities, and I can go to them, and I can promote the magazine, I can maybe promote my own writing, I can make contacts in whatever industry I need to make contacts in. But then, how do I balance that with the isolation and the need to write? The need, maybe not so much to write with the magazine, as the need just to read all the submissions, because I do read the submissions. I understand a lot of publishers, they just go with the writer's credentials and then publish them, maybe not even look at the story. Is my understanding? I don't know. But usually I try to read everything I publish in the chamber. There have been exceptions when I've been in a time crunch and I knew here's an author I've published before several times. I know he's a good writer. I haven't got time to read this. I'll just take it on faith that this is just another good story from him or her, and I'll just go ahead and publish it. That's pretty rare though. Most always, everything I've published in the chamber, I have read. Probably 95 to 99% of it. So, yes, that's probably the biggest uh, use of my time in publishing the Chamber and Rural Fiction magazine is reading. That's the benefit I get. That's the perk. That's the main perk I get out of it right now. There's, I don't know, I think the only big chore I've got with regards to the magazine is getting to know this, how to run the website, all the plugins, all the little things you can do for it, how to do search engine optimization. You really need a PhD to understand this stuff. It really takes a lot of study just to run the website, and there's tons and tons of to learn. If it wasn't for that, I mean, publishing, God, I love it. I love reading it. I love communicating with the writers. I love talking to people. I love being able to help them. You know, I don't like really to turn people down, you know, to reject them, but I'm not doing them any favors if I don't. You know, if they're to become better writers, they need to know where they make mistakes. They need to know what's acceptable and what's not. They need the experience of being rejected, because most writers are rejected 90 to 95% of the time. God knows, when I was submitting short stories, that was my experience of being rejected 90 to 95% of the time. Well, yeah, but anyway, off on another tangent, back to the subject of isolation. And I think I've pretty much said everything I can about it right now. Probably think of some stuff later. But I just want to give you few notes, few thoughts on what it's like to live out here. The challenges of living out here, the blessings of it, and how fortunate I feel to be in a spot where I can have this isolation and use it once I can control myself, once I can discipline myself enough to write, and to make the best use of this time, not to waste it, like I've wasted so much time before. And it's really a neat experience. And I've written, not quite a bit written, actually. A few short stories I've got written, not much poetry. Started on a book of poetry called Remnants. I've written some on the novels that I want to be. I've almost got oh God, what is that? Shadows and Stars finished. A couple of chapters more if I can sit down and just finish them. But then I always come up with new ideas about to add to it, and clarify this and that, and never ending. But I have to draw a line someplace anyway, and get this thing done, get it published. Also working on one called Mabel Vale, about it's sort of a murder mystery with a twist. It's actually not a murder mystery. I don't want to say too much about it. It's intriguing. I think I've got to do a very good twist to it. And I just need, it's at 13,000 words now. I just want to make it to a novella. So I get it past 21,000. I get it sold in the 25 to 30,000 word range, which shouldn't be that hard. I've been doing a little research on it. And it's set here in this rural section of Arkansas. And I should be able to finish it before too long. Like I said, it is something of a mystery. I contacted the local police department for the city of DeWitt. Talked to a criminal investigator about basic investigative procedures today. I'll probably contact the Arkansas State Crime Lab at some point and ask about their procedures in some general way. And that kind of research is pretty interesting. That's pretty fun to do. Also I need to work on A Man Who Escaped from Hell. And there's some other novels I've started that I'd really like to get into. And now would be a great opportunity. I just have to discipline myself, and that is what I'm finding is toughest about this isolation. I have a beautiful opportunity here to accomplish a lot of things, but as with everything else, the most important battle, the most decisive battle, is the one with yourself. Like Sun Tzu said, he can master himself can win 1,000 battles. So it's a challenge, but it's also a great experience. So that's all I have for right now. Take care. Bye.